Hello, everyone. Let's get into this video, uh, bringing you an article about a Texas woman claims Cowboys owner Jerry Jones is her biological father. The woman states Jerry Jones paid off mother to remain quiet about the DNA. Now, I want to hear what you all thoughts are on this at the end of this video because I definitely have my thoughts on this that I'll give throughout this commentary that I'm going to provide with you provide to you regarding this article that I came across. Now, Alexandra Davis is the 26-year-old who is suing Jerry Jones. She has brought this lawsuit. She's wanting to establish paternity with Jerry Jones. Now, she filed her lawsuit this month. She claims she is the biological daughter of the billionaire Dallas Cowboys owner. She is claiming he is the biological father in the new lawsuit. Court documents filed in Dallas County this month claims her mother, Cynthia Davis, had a relationship with Jones in the 90s that resulted in her conception, Dallas Morning News reported on Wednesday. Now, in the court document says Jones, now 79, paid her mother $375,000 in exchange for confidentiality following her birth, though he denied being the father. The court documents obtained by both outlets before they were temporarily sealed. Alexandra claimed Jones created two trusts for her and her mother. Both women were stipulated to receive financial assistance from Jones as long as they didn't publicly disclose him as Davis' father. A hearing is scheduled for March 31st, 2022. Now this is who Alexandra Davis says she is. Now her attorneys or whoever are saying that she has lived her life fatherless and in secret and in fear that if she should tell anyone who her father was, she and her mother would lose financial support or worse. Now, what's the worst? Because they didn't say what the worst would be. They just said or worse. The documents claim plaintiff has had to endure the endless public profiles of her father and siblings while forced to remain secret to everyone, including her closest confidants, alleges Alexandra's legal team. So her legal team is bringing this lawsuit, and they have encouraged her to bring a lawsuit against Jerry Jones. And now Alexandra did not immediately respond to people's requests for comment. But I'm going to stop right here for a moment to talk about this, or maybe a few moments. But however, I believe that in this case where she's saying she had to endure endless public profiles of her father, well, he is a public figure because he is the owner of Jerry Jones is the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I love the Cowboys. I've been following them since I was a little girl, when I was a little girl, and I've never swayed away from that. That is my team. I love the Cowboys. And so I think that it's important, not that I love the Cowboys or I love Jerry Jones, but I think it's important to understand where we're going with this. I personally don't think a lawsuit should be filed, but we have a lot of attorneys out here clout chasing and trying to get that bag. And so therefore they bring these frivolous lawsuits. And I'm going to get into that, why I feel that this lawsuit should not go forward. It should not be able to go through the courts as a civil suit because number one, her mother had a lot to do with this. And so, she had a lot to do with the choices and the decision that was made allegedly between Mr. Jones and her mother, Miss Cynthia. So let's get into this. Let's get into this next slide here. Her suit goes on to continually state that she argues that she is not legally bound to the agreement between Jones and Cynthia. Now let's stop right there. She says she's not, her lawsuit argues that she's not legally bound to the agreement between Jones and Cynthia because that agreement allegedly was between Jones and Cynthia. Now, if she's not legally bound by, why did she say she had to live in secret and she had to endure countless public, uh, you know, uh, countless public pictures of her father, and she was not able to speak about this because they would lose financial assistance, maybe the trust fund, or worse, or something like that. So she says that she's not bound by this agreement between Jones and Cynthia, but she did operate in being bound by it because she talks about it prior. So it's make it make sense. It's like a contradictory here. The other thing is that it was about money. And if you can't see that from the very beginning, this suit is about money because she goes on to say that now she's hoping to legally establish Jones as her father. But listen to this. She also does not want to lose her financial trust or be sued. So it is about money because you're saying that you don't want to lose your financial trust. So that's about money. It really is. And you don't want to be sued because there was, you say, a confidential agreement in place between Mr. Jones and your mother, Miss Cynthia. Now, both Alexandra and Cynthia appeared in the third season of Big Rich Texas on the now defunct Style Network. The fourth Worth Star Telegram reported. So it is about financial. It's about financial gain with you. Like you said, you don't want to lose your financial trust, but yet and still you are suing this man and you are going after this man, but then you don't want to lose your financial trust that he put in place allegedly for you and your mother, Miss Cynthia. So if this is the case, then why are you concerned about this financial trust when you're talking about you have had to live your life a certain way without, speaking out, without disclosing that this was an agreement between your mother and Mr. Jones, or you would lose your financial support. And you was a child, so you know a lot of information about this because obviously somebody had to tell you or your mother told you. Because as a child or a baby, you would not know all of this information. So your mother must have sat here and told you this whole story, but yet and still she's not telling you her side of the story and what part she played in this as well. So is she making herself be the victim and crying and shedding tears in front of you to gain your sympathy so that you can go obtain legal counsel to sue Mr. Jones for a decision that your mother made with Mr. Jones allegedly? Also, your mother had an obligation to make sure that you were taken care of financially, and emotionally secure, which means that your mother had a choice not to enter into this alleged agreement that she did enter in according to your lawsuit that your attorneys filed. She didn't have to do that because if she was having an affair with Mr. Jones, allegedly, but if she was doing that, then guess what? She made a decision to mess with a married man that had a family of his own while she was still married, even though her husband was estranged. They were still legally married. So therefore, your mom was committing adultery as well. If because the suit says that she was still married and it was an estranged husband, and so you became the legal daughter of your mother's husband. Because if a child is born in a union between a husband and wife that's legally married, not this common law, but common law, but legally married, then guess what? That child is the legal child of that union of the father. Now, biologically, if the DNA or genetics say differently, right. But legally, that father that's married to the mother is still legally the father of that child. If a child is born through a legal union, and this child you were born through this legal union. Okay. So as we go on, how Jones and Cynthia met. Well, Alexandra, in her lawsuit, claims Jones and Cynthia met while Cynthia worked as a ticket counter agent for American Airlines in Little Rock, Arkansas during the 1990s. Now, some people might say, well, how do you know he told her the truth? He probably, that's why he kept it a secret, obviously, allegedly, because he was married. He had a family. So she obviously knew that this man was married. And then if she's been following the Cowboys, then she would know that Mr. Jones had a wife and children. Okay. So she and Jones, if they were allegedly having an affair, they both were wrong. But this woman, Miss Cynthia, is really not a victim. And the daughter is trying to play as if the mother told the story as the victim to her. And then the daughter here, the child, is almost sounding like a victim according to the attorneys of what they wrote, according to what they're saying Alexandra did, felt, or emotionally felt, or whatnot. And I understand that children want to be, have their both parents and they want to be loved by both parents, especially their father as well, and things like that. I understand all of that. So I'm not mocking that. I'm not saying anything against that, but at the end of the day, she has to hold her mother accountable for the choices her mother made as well, allegedly. Okay, so it says Cynthia was estranged from her husband and the two divorced after Alexandra was born. So there you go. He was the legal father of Alexandra because she was born during that union. Was she the biological father? Well, I guess we have to wait and see with the DNA when it comes out in the lawsuit if it's passed to establish paternity. Now, I have no problem with paternity being established because we see it all the time on paternity court with Judge Lauren Lake. That if you watch and follow paternity court, the paternity has to be established. And there's a lot of times women are married and having affairs by, with men, and they may be estranged or not estranged from their husband. But a lot of times a child, when it's born in a legal marriage union, that child father is the husband of that union. And so they go out and petition the court for a DNA test. And but guess what? Even if the DNA test comes back that the husband is not the biological father, they are still the legal father. And you have to go to court and petition the court to have the names removed and all this other stuff if the judges will do it, especially if the judge says, well, this is the only father that this child knows. A lot of times they will not allow the names to be removed and to put down the biological father if a child is born in a union, a legal union, and sometimes even outside where the some another man signs the birth certificate and then finds out later that he's not the father. It's difficult to get your name off of these birth certificates, especially if you wait too long and that you don't pursue it right away or you allow it to go into default. So men, get some information here and some knowledge on what I'm saying to you. But however, again, she was born in this union, and the Miss Cynthia and her estranged husband, who they don't give a name, divorced after Alexandra was born. Now, according to Dallas Morning News, genetic testing during the couple's divorce showed Alexandra was not the biological daughter of Cynthia's husband. So apparently, it sounds to me, and this is allegedly, but reading this, it sounds like that the daughter and the the daughter and the legal father. So the legal father, because he was married to Alexandra's mother, Miss Cynthia. The legal father and Alexandra had a DNA test done or genetic testing done, and it came back that he was not the father. So it sounds like that Alexandra is trying to establish who her legal father is, and she is believing that it's Mr. Jones. Okay. So Jones had been married to his wife, Eugenia, since 1963. They have three adult children together: Stephen, Charlotte, and Jerry. Now, the girl was bound by secrecy, Alexandra. At the age of 1, the girl was bound by a confidentiality agreement signed by her mother, according to the lawsuit. Jones denied in the settlement he was the biological father of the child. Alexandra Davis lives in Washington, D.C., says Jones courted her mother in 1995 and has lived her life fatherless and in secret. She was abandoned and shunned after her birth in Little Rock, Arkansas on December 16, 1996. But she has excelled academically and professionally, and she works as an aide to U.S. Representative Ronnie Jackson, who is Republic of Texas. And another thing I want to say about this is that the mother really should be held accountable, which means that Alexandra to have that talk again with her mother and hold her mother accountable because her mother made choices. Her mother had a choice. The ball was in her court, and she could have made a better choice to protect her daughter's emotional and mental health, future health, because she was a little girl. So how would she know all of this? She had to be told this by the mother, or and then the attorneys encouraged her to file this lawsuit. So we're not saying that Jones is not responsible and that he didn't do anything wrong, because if they did enter into a sexual relationship, uh, Jones is just as responsible for committing adultery with his wife. You know what I'm saying? But however, the mother had a choice as well. And it seems that the daughter wants to paint this picture that the mother almost is like the victim. The mother is not the victim here because she still made a choice. The daughter can be the victim because she grew up without a father, and she says she was shunned and she was fatherless and she was sworn to secrecy. So I can see all of that. So, but at the end of the day, the mother needs to hold herself accountable, Miss Cynthia, for the choice that she made. Because again, to me, this lawsuit is about money, and it really should be about paternity, establishing who the biological father is, because we already know who the legal father was. It was Miss Cynthia's husband at the time, because the child was born during that marriage before they divorced. But it should be about really just establishing paternity, nothing less, nothing more. And that's what it really should be about with this whole case. Now let's get into the disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Now, this is just my opinion on this video based on this article, and I've given my opinion. So if you want to follow up with this article, I did put the information in the comment, in the description section for you to go ahead and read these two articles and follow up if you like to do so. And I'm going to keep, I'm going to follow up on this article as well to see what happens in the, this with this civil suit, just in case it is not sealed. But then again, it could be sealed and I may not be able to get that information. But however, I just wanted to bring this story to you. So again, God bless you all on today and peace out.